Boy, we're all just full of surprises here this morning, aren't
The Morning Drive.
we? Screw you, buddy.
Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Channel 90.
On the morning drive, got to check in with John Roberts, Chocolate Myers shortly with a preview of Trade and Paint for today. Also coming up in moments, Jordan Taylor will join us on the heels of winning the Rolex 24 at Daytona yesterday. Big day here on the channel on Friday, and you're going to want to be sure that you are with us. We got happy hours on the way. We got Kevin Harvick and Matt Yoakum back with another year of happy hours. That'll kick off on Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The unique nature of this happy hours, they will be live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 53 Media Day. It'll replay again over the weekend several times and also Friday night. It'll be the NASCAR Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the 10th class getting inducted Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Davey Allison, Jeff Gordon, Alan Kulwicki, Roger Penske, and Jack Roush will be enshrined into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Coming up Friday night, Motor Racing Network will have all of the action, and you can hear it here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. Now, let's go to the hotline and bring in one gentleman of four that powered yesterday's Rolex 24 winning effort, Jordan Taylor, winner of the Rolex 24 at Daytona for 2019. Jordan, welcome to Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. How's it going?
That's good. How about you guys?
We're doing well, Jordan. Most important question I have for you, have you dried out yet from the weekend down there in Daytona?
Oh, yeah, it was a miserable weather all night, all morning. Even through the podium ceremony, it was if we didn't win, it would have been just horrible standing out there in the cold and rain. But thankfully, we had a nice shiny Rolex to keep us warm.
Endurance racing is difficult as it is, but when you have weather that you have to factor in, how much does the weather complicate what you're doing normally in the dry?
Yeah, I mean, we knew the rain was going to come Sunday at some point, and so when we looked at the strategy, and it's a 24-hour race, so it's all about survival. So when we looked at from the whole 24 hours as a whole, before, our game plan was basically to get to the wet portion of the race and survive through the night, survive the dry, and make sure we're on the lead lap when that rain does hit. That's basically going to be a complete reset, and it was. The Acuras were super strong in the dry conditions, and when it became wet, our car came to life, and that's really what won us the race. We were able to get track position back and have outright pace on most of the field. So when those red flags were coming, we were kind of racing to be in the lead just in case the red flag ended the race, and the last one came when we were in the lead, so it all worked out.
So, Jordan, for some of our listeners here on the NASCAR channel who maybe are not that familiar with your kind of racing or endurance racing, obviously you have teammates in this race. Can you explain to them how you guys come up with the rotation of who's going to drive the car when over the course of 24 hours?
Yeah, usually, you have 3 to 5 drivers. We had 4 this year. It was myself, my full-time teammate, Ranger van der Zande, Kamui Kobayashi, and Fernando Alonso. And those are 4 guys who can get the job done, and everyone was fast on the team, so that makes it easy for a strategist and an engineer to line up the race to basically have any of the 4 could finish the race and be competitive. So when we were planning the weekend, I was planning to qualify, and the qualifying driver had to start. So I started, and then with endurance racing and different sized drivers, you have seat inserts that you have to put into the car for shorter drivers or drivers that need to be close to the steering wheel. So Fernando and Kamui shared a seat, and then Ranger had his own, so we basically had to line up the driver changes to suit those changes. So I went from me to Fernando to Kamui, so basically there was only 1 seat change, and then Kamui to Ranger was the slowest change because there were 2 seat inserts to exchange. But that's you kind of expect that in an endurance race. You're going to have some slower stops than others. But when it came down to the last 6 hours, Fernando had driven into the wet in the early hours around 5 a.m., so we knew he was confident in those conditions. Kamui and Ranger hadn't driven in the wet in this car or on the tire or at Daytona. So we basically put me in for 2 hours and then put Fernando in back for the last couple to finish the race.
Lots of attention around Fernando Alonso being a part of your team. Obviously, a two-time F1 champion, winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Who reached out to whom first, and how did Fernando like his first run here with the Rolex 24, bringing home a Rolex watch as a winner?
I'm sure he's happy now after we won the race. But I think it all started last year at Daytona. It was his first Rolex, and my dad knows Zach Brown quite well, so they got introduced, and Fernando seemed interested at that time that he'd want to come back and be with us. And halfway through the year, last year, we started the conversation again, and it probably took a couple months to get all the details sorted, but he was locked in pretty late, probably November, December last year. Kamui was locked in earlier than that, and Renger, obviously as a full-time teammate, is coming back. So it was cool to have, Fernando. It obviously brings a lot of media attention, but he's a guy that has so much experience and so much success, and now all the different forms of motorsport, now that he's going for the Triple Crown with Indy this year. So I think for me, and I can probably speak for Renger and Kamui, it's nice to be part of, history with him and help him on his journey to achieving all that he's trying to achieve.
What about you just personally? What does it mean to win this prestigious race? And granted, under some adverse conditions, a little bit different this year. But Jordan, when you win it, what does it mean in terms of your stance and status in the sports car racing world?
Yeah, it was a lot different than the last one. We won in 2017 with Jeff Gordon and my brother Ricky and Max Angelelli, and that one was, I'd say, more emotional and more of a relief to finally get the win there. It's our home race, living in Florida, so it was super special, and doing it as a family with Ricky in the car, and Jeff with his retirement. Max Angelelli retired after the race. So that one was hugely emotional and exciting. This one, like you said, it was a weird race with the red flags and the conditions, but at the same time, it's Daytona. It's the biggest race of the year for us. It kicks off the whole year of motorsports around the world. We had drivers from Formula One and IndyCar, NASCAR, so you have a lot of eyes on it. And for me, it's my favorite race of the year. It's our Super Bowl, like I said. So to kick off the year on the right foot like that is amazing, and it's great to have another Rolex.
Chatting with Jordan Taylor, winner of yesterday's Rolex 24 at Daytona International Speedway. Jordan, before we head down the total NASCAR path, I want to ask you, as where I sit and having watched you race for a long period of time and knowing the race team that you drive for, knowing your dad, it seems like you have three career paths laying in front of you right now. You have staying a driver, taking over the family business, because your dad's not going to be running the family business forever, or perhaps maybe veering off into NASCAR or another form of motorsports or doing something like that. Which one of those three, or is there a fourth or fifth, which one of them appeals to you the most, at least at this stage in your career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my dad does want me to take over in some form of winter racing down the road, but I think right now I'm at a good point in my career on the driving side that I don't want to make the most of this while I can, while I still can race and be competitive. So I'm happy in sports car racing. I've been with GM now since 2011, and we've won Daytona twice now. We've won Sebring 12-hour, 2 Petit Le Mans, and Le Mans together. So I'm really enjoying my sports car career. I'd love to try NASCAR, especially road courses. I think the ovals would be a bit much right now to try adjust to. Those guys do that every day of the week, and they're obviously extremely good at it. So I don't think I could jump into an oval thing and get right into it, but I'd love to give a road course a try and an Xfinity or Cup some year.
So to that point, we've been discussing this morning with the listeners, Jordan, the idea of would a NASCAR stock car race, Cup or Xfinity, work on the road course at Daytona? What does your gut tell you about how that might play itself out if NASCAR decided to give that a shot?
I think it would be perfect. I think that the track suits, a NASCAR type race. For us, we have our car's a prototype, so it's designed for this type of racing. It's not really designed for a track like Daytona with high banks and stuff like that. But so the brake zones for us are super short, and it's tough to pass. But in NASCAR, it's big and heavy. It's not designed for that. So the brake zones are big and long, and all the corners at Daytona Road Course